Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you how to make this corner square bracelet. It could also be a lovely little necklace design, a choker, or even one or two hanging down for earrings. If you need any materials, look below the video. In the description, we'll put links there that you can go back and find everything that you need. Gather up all your materials and let's get started. So to begin our cornered squares, we are going to grab one of our bugle beads followed by an 8/0 seed bead, a bugle bead, an 8/0, and we're going to do this 4 times because we're getting that squared look. And on my mat here, in addition to my bugles and my 8s that I'm using right now, I also have 11s, delicas, 15s, and some tiny little 3mm pearls. After having on here your collection of your 4 bugles followed by each an 8/0 seed bead, and I'm using size 8 dragon thread. You can use size 6 too, and I have a size 11 needle. I have a stop bead on here, and you want to leave enough thread at the end of your stop bead to go in and add your clasp after the fact. From here, we're going to do our first little right angle weave unit, going through our first of our long bugle bead as well as our first 8/0 seed bead. You can see that pulls it into that diamond shape. And then through the next one of my bugles. As I'm through the bugles, we are going to go around the exterior here, and we're going to add 1, 2, 3, and 4 of our 15/0 seed beads. Once those 4 15/0 seed beads are on your thread and needle, skip over the 8/0 seed bead and go into the next bugle. This is going to cap all the corners here with those 15/0 seed beads. And continue the whole way around. Going in then, ignoring the 8/0 seed beads, skipping past that stop bead, going through the beads here. You can see how you're getting this cornered shape. From here, when you go through the last one of your bugle beads, which was originally the first one that you're coming out of, I want you to take your needle and thread also through the original 15/0s, and we're going to go through, bringing it a little closer here, we're going to go through the first 2 of those 15/0s and bring our needle and thread out. From there, I want you to grab one 11/0 seed bead and then go in and go down through the second 2 15s. Straight across the bugle to the opposite side through the 15s. What this does is gets that 11 nice and in the corner. So if we would have added the 11 in between the 15s originally, what that would have done is made it a little bit more rounded because we're squeezing the 11 between the 15s that we had 4 in a row. It's making it more into that cornered look. That's why this video and this tutorial is really nice, because you're learning that technique. So up here then, going into the corner, adding the 11 over to the next. As you go over to the next then, same thing. Make sure you're going through those first 2 15s on the outer edge, add an 11, and go through the 2 that are already there before the bugle. Also going through the bugle and the 15/0s next, you can see that it pulls that bugle a little bit more up and out in line with those 15/0s. That's our first little cornered square that we're going to do. And now what we're going to do is go from the bugle bead here and come out through the 8/0 seed bead. So the 8/0s actually got squeezed kind of to the center, and that's going to allow us to build on the 8/0s some of our pearls and our seed beads. You're going to go in and add one 15/0, followed by a pearl, followed by another 15/0 seed bead. You're then going to go through the next 8/0 yellow seed bead. And I love this color combo. It's not a natural color combo that I would have normally grabbed, but as I was using it and creating it, it worked really well with the open space, in my opinion. 15 3mm pearl, 15 through the next 8. We're repeating that 4 times, 1 to sit in front of each one of our bugle beads. If you want a little bit more bling, a little bit more jazz on it, you can also use crystals as well instead of the pearls. I like the nice soft look that the pearls are giving. From here, once you're done with your 15 O's and your pearls, you're going to go back through that first 8O seed bead that your thread was originally coming out of. You can see you can also kind of stop there. See how the pearls want to sit out a little bit? We're going to bring them in and pull them even closer. Going through the first 15O, the first pearl, and then once you're out the 3mm pearl, you can either grab a 15, or I liked this little fuchsia color pop of a delica that I had sitting nearby, and we put a delica bead between each one of our pearls. That brings the pearls a little bit more towards the center of the design, pulling them in, and the delica will sit right basically in front of that 8O seed bead. It's a very simple design, going in and basically connecting all of those corners and squaring them off. Once you're done with one unit, which is also a lovely earring if you want to just make them into a drop, you're going to progress and do the same thing again. So from here, after I go back and tighten up that center a little bit, pulling it a little bit tighter with my delicas and my pearls, I'm going to go down one of the 15O seed beads after the pearls. I'm going to go through an 8O seed bead. From here, I'm going to go through one of my bugle beads, that's right after, following the thread line exactly the way that it would have gone through the beads originally. Getting then out to the corner, that is going to be our connector. Once you're done with this individual unit, it is time to build the next unit onto this one. To start our next unit, we're going and coming out through the 11O, that is the point of that diamond. From here, we're going to add two 15s. Then we're going to add our same series of beads that we did when we originally got started, adding in our 4 bugle beads followed by our 4 8O seed beads. From here, we're going back to the bugle, and we're going to come out right after that first bugle, sewing and creating our next unit. Right here, see how you have a little gap? You want to pull tightly, making sure to close up that gap. We do not want any gap as we are working on it. From here, we're going to go around the corners now, adding in our 4 15O seed beads. And once we have those 4 15O seed beads in, we're going to go from one bugle to the next on the outside of the 8s. Going around then, around the second one here, around the third one. And when I come through the 4th bugle there, I already have my first 2 seed beads on, or my second 2, I should say. We're going to go in and add 2 more, and we are going to go into the 2 15s that sit right there next to the original 11O that we went through. We're not going through the 11O because we still want that to sit in a nice corner. So we'll go through that next go round. As we could progress around the design now, we will go in here, going into each corner, and just like we did previously, adding one 11O onto each corner between 2 and 3 of our 15Os that we've added. On goes an 11, through the next 2 15Os, through the bugle, in through the next 15Os, add an 11, and up along the sides. Now you can see I have a very limited amount of thread here because when I record, I like to have not a ton of thread to pull through. So I'll go in and kind of sew them together. But as we go in and have those 2 corners here, and I'm adding my last 11 into this corner, when I'm coming through the outer edge now, and going down through the beads and down through the bugle, that's what I'm going to reinforce going up through that middle 11O that's already there before coming out to the interior of the 8s to add my pearls. After you go around the corner then, going through the 15, the 11, down through the 15, you go through that first bugle and then you're going to downgrade or transition coming out through the 8O. Once you're down through there, you go back in, add your 15 pearl, 15 combo into your 8s. Do that all the way around, and then once again, go into your pearls and add a delicate bead between each one of your pearls to sit in between, creating those nice little patterned cornered squares. Once you finish your bracelet and you have all of those corner designs in there, it's going to be time to put on your clasp. Now I've already put the clasp on one side and I'm going to mimic that on the other side. I want to make sure that the clasp is sitting facing upright, that it's going to match, and that the clasp goes in the same way. Coming out the last 11-0 seed bead, I'm going to grab a new 11-0 seed bead. That new 11-0 seed bead goes on, and then I grab the alternate side of that clasp, running through the clasp, back through that 11-0 seed bead there, and then I'm going to bring my needle and thread into the opposite side that the thread was coming out of. So the thread was coming out there on the right. I add the bead and go to the opposite side, give a nice tight pull. From here, I'm going to reinforce going back through this 3 times. So through the 11-0 seed bead, up through the clasp, back through the 11-0 seed bead, over off to the side, making sure my thread's going around there, into that opposite side. Do it one more time, going in, going up through the seed bead, through the clasp, back down through the seed bead, and then again into the alternate side. After I do it this many times, so that was my 3rd time here, what I want to do is I want to bring the thread and needle down into the piece. So I'm going back down in here to my clasp, and then I'm going to bring my thread and needle down through the beads into the design, bringing it out there after the bugle towards the corner. Once I'm out there after the bugle towards the corner, I'm going to sew my needle and thread underneath the bugle, not through any beads. Just bring my thread underneath the bugle. That's going to make a loop or a little thread loop there. I'm going to sew through the thread loop once, through that thread loop twice, and make sure that that thread loop goes right between my bugle that it's next to and my 15-0 seed bead. I give a nice tight pull and it brings that knot down next to my 15-0s and next to my bugle bead. And I'm going to bring my thread to the opposite side of the 8-0 seed bead there. Grab my thread zap or thread burner, burn down that thread edge, and then burn it down close to the project. So the thing with the end that you've noticed is that I like to reinforce my clasp at least 3 times. I like to create my knot with that multiple times through that loop to do that nice sewer's knot. And then I like to bring my thread separate from where that knot is. Once you're done that, you have your beautiful corner bracelet all finished. I've got this nice clasp guard push clasp on it that matches with that kind of elegant silver design. And you've got your pearls in the middle. Remember, a little heads up, if you want to, you could even change out for bicones. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining and creating this cornered square bracelet. Remember, if you do need any materials, want to check out the rest of the clasp guard and clasps, look below the video in the description, and I'll have links there to get back to our website. I also can't wait to see your versions with maybe some crystals in the middle on our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Ask to become a member and share there. As always, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.